The massive starship Thunder's Edge cut through the darkness of space, its reinforced hull gleaming under distant starlight. Inside the command center, Captain Stone stood tall, his scaled armor reflecting the soft blue glow of countless screens. His people, the Racnars, had ruled the space lanes for over 300 years. No other species could match their strength, their endurance, or their fighting spirit. Stone walked to the main viewport, his heavy footsteps echoing across the metal floor. Each step carried the weight of someone born and raised in a gravity field almost twice that of most habitable worlds. His dark eyes scanned the starfield ahead, pride swelling in his chest as he thought about his species' accomplishments. The Racnars had evolved on a world that most species would call hell. Their home planet, with its crushing gravity, constant electrical storms, and abundance of apex predators, had forged them into the strongest beings in known space. Their bodies were covered in natural armor, their muscles dense enough to shatter steel, and their reflexes honed by generations of survival against monsters that would give other species nightmares. "Captain," called out First Officer Dax from his station, his voice carrying the distinct gravelly tone of their species, "the Galactic Council is requesting our presence at the annual meeting." Stone allowed himself a small smile. The council meetings were always the same. The soft species from their gentle worlds would cower as the Racnar delegation entered the chamber. They called the Racnars Deathworlders behind their backs, both a slur and a testament to their power. "Set course for the council station," Stone ordered, settling into his reinforced command chair. "And make sure our honor guard is prepared for the traditional display." The traditional display was Stone's favorite part. The Racnars would demonstrate their physical prowess, crushing metal bars with their bare hands and engaging in combat exercises that left the other species trembling. It reminded everyone why the Racnars were the undisputed peacekeepers of known space. As Thunder's Edge prepared for the jump to faster-than-light speed, one of the sensor operators suddenly straightened in their seat. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual signals from Sector 7. Stone turned his attention to the main screen. Sector 7 was unexplored territory, marked as empty space on their charts. "What kind of signals?" "They appear to be artificial, sir. Radio waves, similar to early space-age communications." But the operator paused, double-checking their readings. "The signals are coming from a planet with environmental readings that shouldn't support advanced life." This caught Stone's full attention. He stood up, moving to the operator's station with heavy steps. The readings on the screen showed a world with gravity 1.8 times galactic standard, atmospheric pressure far above comfortable levels, and extreme temperature variations. It was, by all accounts, a death world. "Impossible," Stone muttered. His species had searched for centuries, hoping to find others like them. Every death world they discovered had been empty of intelligent life, hosting only the most primitive and brutal of creatures. "How old are these signals?" "Based on the degradation, they're recent, sir. Whatever's making them is still active." The command center fell silent. Stone felt the weight of history pressing down on him, heavier than even his homeworld's gravity. If there was another species that had evolved on a death world, it would change everything. The Racnars' unique position in the galaxy, their role as the strongest, their very identity, all of it could be challenged. "Cancel the council meeting," Stone ordered, his voice firm. "Send our apologies and inform them we've encountered a situation that requires immediate investigation." He returned to his command chair, his mind racing with possibilities. Plot a course for the signal's origin. Maximum speed. As Thunder's Edge changed direction, Stone found himself gripping the arms of his chair tighter than necessary. His people had built their entire civilization on the belief that they were unique, that their harsh world had made them special. Now, for the first time in centuries, that belief was about to be tested. The ship's engines roared to life, pushing against the fabric of space itself. Stone watched the stars blur into streaks of light, wondering what they would find at their destination, whatever waited for them in Sector 7. He knew that the galaxy would never be the same after this day. Thunder's Edge dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of an unremarkable yellow star system. The bridge crew fell silent as the main screen displayed their destination, a blue-green planet wrapped in swirling white clouds. Initial scans confirmed their worst fears. The gravity, atmospheric pressure, and temperature ranges all matched the preliminary readings. "It's a death world," First Officer Dax whispered, his armored scales clicking as he shifted uncomfortably. "Just like home." Captain Stone watched the planet grow larger on the screen as they approached. Signs of civilization were everywhere. Artificial satellites orbited the world, radio signals filled space, and the night side glowed with countless points of light. But what truly caught his attention were the ships. Multiple vessels detected, the sensor operator reported. Most appear to be simple transport craft. "But, sir, there's a military vessel approaching our position. Its design is completely unknown." Stone straightened his massive frame. "Open a channel. Let's meet our fellow Deathworlders." The screen flickered, and Stone found himself looking at something he'd never expected to see. The alien commander was small, pink-skinned, and completely unarmored. It looked soft, vulnerable, nothing like what a Deathworld species should be. Yet there it sat, in an environment that would crush most beings, looking completely at ease. "This is Commander Baker of the Earth Defense Force," the alien spoke, its voice surprisingly clear. "You've entered restricted space. Please identify yourself." Stone recovered from his shock quickly. "I am Captain Stone of the Ragnar Exploration Fleet. We detected your signals and came to investigate. We did not expect to find intelligent life on such a hostile world." The alien, the human, raised an eyebrow. "Hostile. Earth's quite pleasant this time of year, actually. Though I suppose that depends on where you land." A small smile crossed its face. "Would you like to find out for yourself? We can arrange a diplomatic meeting." 2 hours later, Stone led a delegation through the human space station's docking bay. Every step revealed new surprises. The gravity was strong, yes, but the humans moved through it with casual grace. The air pressure and composition matched their scans, yet these unarmored beings breathed it without effort. They were led to a conference room, where Ambassador Peters waited for them. Like Commander Baker, she seemed impossibly fragile compared to the Ragnars. Stone had to resist the urge to test their strength immediately, as was Ragnar custom. "Welcome to Earth space," Peters said warmly. "We've been eager to meet new civilizations, though I must admit, you're the first we've encountered who seemed surprised by our world's conditions." Stone placed a reinforced data pad on the table. "Our scans indicate your planet has gravity 1.8 times galactic standard, extreme temperature variations, and regular natural disasters. These conditions match our homeworld. We call such planets Deathworlds because most species cannot survive on them." "Interesting classification," Peters nodded. "Though I suppose Earth could be considered harsh by some standards. We do have our challenges: earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanoes. But we've adapted." "Without armor?" Stone couldn't help but ask. "Without genetic engineering?" Peters smiled again. "Just plain old evolution. Humans are quite resourceful. We've survived ice ages, predators, and our own worst mistakes. It's made us who we are." The meeting continued, but Stone's mind was racing. Everything he believed about Deathworld species was being challenged. Where were the thick armor plates? The massive muscles? The aggressive displays of strength? These humans seemed almost delicate, yet they thrived in conditions that would kill most species. As if reading his thoughts, Peters added, "Captain, I notice your people seem very strong. Perhaps we could arrange a cultural exchange, a chance to learn more about each other's capabilities." Stone recognized the diplomatic challenge hidden in those words. The humans wanted to prove themselves, just as his people would. "We would be honored," he replied, wondering what other surprises these strange Deathworlders had in store. When the Ragnar delegation returned to their ship, Stone spent a long time staring at the blue-green planet on the screen. His people had always believed their harsh world had made them special, superior. Now they had found another Deathworld species, but one that had taken a completely different path to survival. The galaxy had just become a much more interesting place. Captain Stone sat in his private quarters aboard Thunder's Edge, his eyes fixed on the screen before him. For the past 3 days, he and his crew had been studying the historical records the humans had shared with them. Each new piece of information made him more uneasy. The screen showed ancient human warriors charging into battle with nothing but thin metal armor and simple weapons. Another image showed humans crossing vast deserts on foot. Then came pictures of people climbing the tallest mountains, diving into the deepest oceans, and even living in the frozen wastes of their world's poles. "Computer, replay the survival statistics," Stone ordered, his voice rough with fatigue. He had barely slept since the first contact, too fascinated by what they were learning. The screen filled with data about human endurance. They could run for hours in high temperatures, heal from injuries that would kill most species, and survive in almost any environment on their world. Unlike the Rachnars, who relied on their natural armor and strength, humans had developed something far more valuable: adaptability. A knock at his door interrupted his studies. First Officer Dax entered, carrying more data reports. "Sir, you need to see this. We've been analyzing their military history." Stone took the pad, and his eyes widened as he read. Humans had fought wars that lasted for years, across entire continents. They had survived plagues that killed millions, rebuilt after disasters that leveled cities, and always came back stronger. Where the Rachnars had evolved to be living tanks, humans had become living survivors. "Look at this," Dax pointed to a particular section. "They call it the marathon. It's a race where they run over 40 kilometers for fun." He said the last word as if he couldn't quite believe it. They push themselves to their limits just to see if they can. Stone stood up and walked to the viewport, watching Earth rotate slowly below them. "They're different from us, Dax. We became stronger to survive our world. They became adaptable, clever. They turned their weaknesses into strengths." The computer chimed with a new update. The humans had sent more historical data, this time about their space program. Stone and Dax watched in amazement as the records showed humans reaching for the stars in vessels that seemed impossibly fragile by Rachnar standards. "They failed so many times," Dax noted, watching early rocket explosions. "But they kept trying. They never gave up." "That's what makes them dangerous," Stone replied. "We Rachnars survive because we're strong enough to overcome any challenge. Humans survive because they refuse to accept failure. They learn, adapt, and try again." A new message flashed on the screen, an invitation from the humans. They wanted the Rachnar delegation to visit one of their cities to see firsthand how they lived on their Deathworld. Stone had been avoiding this, worried about what they might discover. "Sir," Dax said carefully, "the crew is talking. Some think we should return home, tell the council what we found. Others," he paused, choosing his words carefully, "others think we should stay, learn more about these humans. They're not like any species we've ever met." Stone looked at the invitation again. The humans had scheduled the visit for what they called a sporting event, some kind of physical competition. They wanted to show the Rachnars how they tested their limits. Send a message accepting their invitation, Stone decided, but have the ship ready for immediate departure if needed. These humans, they're making me question everything we thought we knew about survival. As Dax left to relay the orders, Stone returned to his studies. On the screen, a human climbed an impossible cliff without any equipment, using just their hands and feet. Another dove into freezing water to save a stranger. A third ran into a burning building to rescue others. "Computer, save all files for transmission to the Rachnar High Command," Stone ordered. "They need to understand what we found here. We're not the only Deathworlders anymore. And maybe we never were the strongest ones." The stadium roared with excitement as Captain Stone and his delegation entered the arena. Thousands of humans packed the stands, their cheers echoing off the walls. The Ragnars had come to witness what humans called the world's strongest competition, but things had quickly turned into something more serious. It started when one of the human competitors lifted a massive weight above his head. Rock, Stone's security chief, had scoffed at the display. "Even our children can lift more," he had said, loud enough for the humans to hear. The challenge that followed was inevitable. Now Rock stood in the center of the arena, his armored scales gleaming under the bright lights. Across from him stood Tom, a human who had volunteered for the contest. He looked absurdly small next to the Ragnar warrior, wearing nothing but simple exercise clothes. "The rules are simple," the announcer's voice boomed across the stadium. 3 challenges: strength, endurance, and combat skills. Best 2 out of 3 wins. The crowd cheered again, their excitement building. The first challenge was straightforward, lifting weights. Rock stepped up first, easily hoisting a bar loaded with metal plates. The humans had reinforced it specially for Ragnar's strength. Rock lifted it 10 times, his movements powerful and controlled. When he finished, the display showed he had lifted just over 2 tons. Tom stepped up next. The humans loaded different weights, and to everyone's surprise, the human matched Rock's lift. His face turned red with effort, veins standing out on his neck, but he completed all 10 repetitions. The crowd went wild. "Impossible," Rock growled, his scales clicking in agitation. They must be using technology to help him. "No technology," Tom said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Just good old-fashioned human strength. Ready for round 2. The endurance challenge revealed the true difference between the species. They were to run laps around the arena while carrying heavy packs. Rock started strong, his powerful legs carrying him forward at impressive speed. But after 30 minutes, his movements began to slow. Tom, on the other hand, kept going. His breathing was steady, his pace unchanged. When Rock finally had to stop, his body overheating despite his natural armor, Tom was still running. The human had won through sheer persistence. "How?" Rock asked between heavy breaths. "We are stronger. Our world's gravity is about the same as Earth's," Tom finished. "But we didn't just adapt to gravity. We adapted to keep going when others would quit. Humans aren't the strongest, but we might be the most stubborn." The final challenge was close quarters combat. The rules prohibited killing or serious injury, but everything else was allowed. Rock was confident this would prove Ragnar's superiority once and for all. The fight began with Rock charging forward, expecting to end it quickly. But Tom moved like water, slipping away from the Ragnar's powerful strikes. Where Rock relied on strength and armor, Tom used speed and technique. He couldn't match the Ragnar's raw power, but he didn't need to. Minutes passed, and Rock's movements grew slower. His attacks became desperate. Tom kept moving, kept dodging, kept wearing him down. Finally, when Rock lunged one last time, Tom used the Ragnar's own momentum to throw him to the ground. The match was over. Captain Stone watched from the sidelines as Tom helped Rock to his feet. The human was battered and bruised, but standing tall. Rock, despite his natural armor, looked completely exhausted. "Now I understand," Stone said quietly to Ambassador Peters, who stood beside him. "Your strength isn't in your bodies alone. It's in your refusal to give up." Peters nodded. "Humans learned long ago that being the strongest doesn't always mean you'll survive. Sometimes survival means being able to take a beating and keep going, or being smart enough to use your opponent's strength against them." As medical teams checked both competitors, the stadium buzzed with excited conversation. The Ragnars had come expecting to prove their superiority. Instead, they had learned a valuable lesson about different kinds of strength. "Perhaps," Stone suggested, "both our species have something to learn from each other." The Great Hall of Thunder's Edge had been modified for this special occasion. Ragnar and human delegations sat together, sharing stories of their worlds over a carefully prepared meal that both species could eat. The massive viewing screen showed images from both planets, switching between Earth's landscapes and the Ragnar homeworld. "Your storms are impressive," Commander Baker said, watching footage of the constant electrical storms that raged across the Ragnar planet. Lightning bolts thick as buildings crashed down every few seconds, illuminating the armored creatures that roamed the surface. "How do you build anything in those conditions?" Captain Stone gestured to his own armor-like scales. "We evolved these plates to channel the electricity away from our vital organs. Our buildings use the same principle. Layers of conducting materials that guide the lightning into underground storage cells. We learned to use the storms as power sources." The screen changed to show Earth's oceans during a hurricane. Massive waves crashed against the coastline while wind bent trees almost to the ground. "We have our own storms," Baker explained. "Not as electrical as yours, but they can reshape entire coastlines in a single day. Yet you build right next to these oceans," First Officer Dax observed. "Why not move inland?" Ambassador Peters smiled. "Humans have a saying, life finds a way. We adapt. We build stronger buildings, develop better warning systems. Sometimes the storms destroy what we build, so we learn and build again, better than before." The images shifted again, showing a Ragnar hunt. A team of warriors tracked one of their world's apex predators, a massive six-legged beast with natural electrical organs that could stun even a Ragnar. The humans watched in fascination as the hunters worked together to bring down the creature. "Your teamwork is remarkable," Tom commented. He had joined the cultural exchange after the arena contest, eager to learn more about the species he had fought. Each hunter knew exactly what to do. "We have to work together," Stone explained. "Even with our strength and armor, no single Ragnar can survive alone on our world. The predators are too strong, the storms too fierce. Unity is survival." Now the screen showed human mountain climbers ascending Earth's tallest peaks. Their small figures clung to sheer cliff faces, fighting against howling winds and thin air. The Ragnars watched intently as the climbers helped each other across dangerous gaps and up steep walls of ice. "You do this for enjoyment?" Rock asked, still nursing his wounded pride from the arena contest. "Climbing mountains that could kill you." "Humans need challenges," Tom replied. "When our world doesn't provide them, we create our own. It's how we stay sharp, how we keep pushing our limits." The conversation continued as they shared more stories. The Ragnars told of their great underground cities, built to shelter from the worst storms. The humans described how they had spread across their world, adapting to live in every environment from frozen tundra to burning deserts. "Your people survived an ice age," Stone said, reviewing the historical data. "Your entire planet froze, and you lived through it with nothing but fur clothes and fire. Your people adapted to constant electrical storms so well that you can channel lightning through your bodies," Peters responded. "Both our species faced incredible challenges. We just solved them differently." As the evening progressed, both groups found themselves gaining new respect for each other. The Ragnars began to see that humans' lack of natural armor didn't make them weak. It had forced them to become innovative and resilient. The humans understood that Ragnar pride in their strength came from generations of surviving against impossible odds. "Perhaps," Stone suggested as the meeting drew to a close, "we should establish a permanent exchange program. Both our species could benefit from learning each other's survival strategies." "Agreed," Peters nodded. "After all, we're the only two species who truly understand what it means to evolve on a death world. We should stand together." As if to emphasize their words, the screen showed final images of both worlds. Earth's mighty storms beside Ragnar's lightning-filled skies. Two harsh but beautiful planets that had forged two remarkable species. The emergency alarms blared through Thunder's Edge as Captain Stone rushed to the bridge. The ship's corridors echoed with the sound of running feet as crew members raced to their stations. Something was very wrong. "Report," Stone commanded as he entered the bridge. The main screen showed multiple unknown vessels appearing from faster-than-light travel near both Earth and Ragnar colonies. "Sir, we're receiving distress calls from 3 Ragnar outposts and 2 human colonies," First Officer Dax reported, his voice tense. "They're under attack by an unknown species. The enemies are using some kind of energy weapons we've never seen before." The screen split to show feeds from both attacks. The enemy ships were sleek and curved, nothing like the sturdy designs of either humans or Ragnars. They moved with incredible speed, their weapons cutting through standard defenses like they weren't even there. "Message from Earth Defense Command," the communications officer called out. "Commander Baker is requesting immediate assistance. Their orbital stations are under heavy fire." Stone's scales clicked as he made his decision. "Set course for Earth. Maximum speed. And get me Ambassador Peters on the line. We need to coordinate our response." The ambassador's face appeared on screen moments later. Despite the chaos behind her, she remained calm. "Captain, I assume you're seeing this too. Our analysts think they targeted both our species at once, hoping to prevent us from helping each other. They underestimated us." Stone growled. "Thunder's Edge will reach Earth in 20 minutes. But we need a plan. These weapons, they're bypassing our strongest shields." "We noticed that too," Peters nodded. "But we've been analyzing their attack pattern. They're fast and their weapons are strong, but they're fighting like they expect us to break and run. They don't understand what it means to fight Deathworlders." The next few minutes were a blur of activity. Thunder's Edge arrived at Earth just as one of the enemy ships was preparing to bombard a major city. The Ragnar vessel's thick armor absorbed hits that would have destroyed lighter ships, allowing them to get close enough to return fire. "Their shields are adapting to our weapons," Dax reported after the first exchange. "Standard tactics aren't working." That's when the humans surprised everyone. A group of small Earth ships launched what looked like suicide runs at the enemy vessels. The enemy ignored them, focusing on the larger threats. It was a mistake. "Now." Commander Baker's voice came through the comm. The small ships suddenly released clouds of tiny robots, human nanomachines that attached themselves to the enemy ships' hulls and began eating through their armor. Incredible. Stone watched as the enemy vessel's shields flickered and died. "Target those weak points. Show them how Deathworlders fight." The battle raged for hours. Every time the enemy adapted to one tactic, humans and Ragnars would try something new. When brute force failed, they used cunning. When speed wasn't enough, they relied on endurance. 2 species that evolved to never give up, working together, proved to be an unstoppable combination. Finally, the enemy fleet began to retreat. Their smooth ships, now scared and broken, disappeared back into faster-than-light travel. The combined human and Ragnar forces had won, but the victory came with a cost. Several ships were destroyed, and many brave warriors from both species had died fighting. "We need to make sure this never happens again," Peters said during the emergency meeting after the battle. "They thought attacking both our worlds at once would keep us divided. Instead, they gave us a reason to unite." Stone looked at the casualty reports from both species. Humans and Ragnars had died fighting side by side, protecting each other's worlds. "The galaxy thought Deathworlders were something to be feared," he said quietly. "They never considered what would happen when 2 Deathworld species decided to work together." The screen behind them showed the aftermath of the battle. Human ships and Ragnar vessels patrolled together, protecting both Earth and the Ragnar colonies. Engineers from both species were already working on combining their technologies, making stronger ships and better weapons. Their enemies had made a terrible mistake. They had attacked 2 species that had evolved to never surrender, never stop fighting, never accept defeat. Now these species had a common cause, and the galaxy would never be the same. 1 year after the Great Battle, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. Where once the Ragnars had stood alone as the only Deathworlders, now human representatives stood beside them. The other species watched with a mixture of fear and fascination as Captain Stone and Ambassador Peters presented their joint proposal. The recent attack proved that we are stronger together. Peters addressed the council, her voice carrying across the silent chamber. Therefore, we propose the creation of a joint Deathworld defense force, a combined fleet of human and Ragnar ships, ready to protect any world that asks for our help. The council members murmured among themselves. On the massive screen behind the speakers, images showed the new ships being built in orbit around both Earth and the Ragnar homeworld. They combined Ragnar durability with human innovation. Sleek vessels with reinforced armor, powered by a mixture of both species' technologies. But how can your species work together? One council member asked. You are so different. The Ragnars have always been aggressive in their approach. Stone stepped forward, his heavy footsteps echoing in the chamber. We were aggressive because we thought we had to be. We believed being the strongest was the only way to survive. The humans taught us there are other kinds of strength. The screen changed to show the new training facilities. Human and Ragnar soldiers exercised together, each learning from the other's techniques. Ragnar warriors were learning human martial arts, while human soldiers practiced with Ragnar weapons. In the science labs, researchers from both species worked side by side, combining their knowledge. Look at what we've already achieved, Peters continued. Human nanobots now help repair Ragnar armor. Ragnar energy channeling technology has revolutionized human power systems. Together, we're stronger than either of us ever was alone. The images shifted again, showing the aftermath of their victory over the mysterious attackers. The enemy had never returned, but both species knew they would face other challenges. The galaxy was vast and often dangerous. We're not asking for the Council's permission, Stone added, his voice firm but not threatening. We're extending an offer of protection. Any world that wants our help can have it. We may be Deathworlders, but that doesn't make us monsters. It makes us survivors. In the years since the battle, things had changed dramatically. Humans had helped the Ragnars develop new technologies that didn't rely solely on brute strength. The Ragnars had taught humans how to make their buildings and vehicles even more durable. Both species had grown stronger by learning from each other. Our training program is already producing results, Peters explained. Human endurance combined with Ragnar strength. Ragnar durability enhanced by human adaptability. We're creating protectors who can handle any threat, survive any challenge. The council members watched as more images played across the screen. Ragnar ships using human-designed stealth systems. Human stations protected by Ragnar lightning channeling shields. Medical techniques from both worlds being combined to save lives that once would have been lost. The galaxy once feared Deathworlders, Stone said, looking around the chamber. Perhaps it's time to understand us instead. We don't want to rule or conquer. We want to protect, to help others survive, just as we have survived. The Council's decision was unanimous. The Joint Deathworld Defense Force was officially recognized, and requests for protection began coming in immediately. Worlds that once feared the Deathworlders now sought their help. Later, on the observation deck of the new Joint Command Station, Stone and Peters watched ships from both their species patrol together. The station itself was a marvel of cooperation, strong enough to withstand any storm, innovative enough to adapt to any threat. Did you ever imagine this? Peters asked, watching a human crew guide their ship through a complicated maneuver using Ragnar navigation techniques. When we first met, did you think we'd end up here? Stone's scales clicked in what had become his version of a laugh. I thought we were the only ones strong enough to survive a death world. You showed us that strength comes in many forms. Together, we're not just survivors anymore. We're protectors. As if to emphasize his words, a massive ship passed by the window, the first of a new class, built by both species. On its hull, written in both human and Ragnar script, was its name, Unity's Strength.